Mic on.
Hello, hello, greetings adventurers. It is Wednesday night and time to do some world building. So, get you some tasty snacks and a frosty beverage and pull up a chair tonight because we are going to continue spinning up not one but two whole worlds from the mists. So, I've been doing a little homework getting ready for this, so we're going to dive in and have a little fun tonight with some world building. Alright, so I actually got Hexographer to play nice with Streamlabs tonight, which, you know, is always a good thing. And figure we will jump into doing a little mapping and adding some town names here to both of our planets. So just bear with me while I tear into that. Alrighty, so I guess we're going to start with the fantasy world on top. So I've got some interior towns I need to name, and some border towns. Let me get out of feature mode and get into labeling mode. Alright. I want to do an elfin town. These three towns are going to be elven. Actually, these four. Do I want to go with all four, or do I want to just go with two? Let's label two, and then let's do some of the surrounding towns, and then we'll come back to that particular topic. It's just I want an elven presence on the big continent as well, because, you know, we've got a good dwarven presence over here, so let's get some fun going here. Let's see. I did these in white and bold, and yes, I think all my presets are good. That's going to be an elven town. All right. I think this little town over here on the eastern side of the mountain range, because I have two heavily fortified dwarven cities in the mountains, I think this needs to be, since it's on the edge of the mountains, instead of elven, let's go with dwarvish. Let me go grab my dwarven city names list over here and grab a name. Let's see, we've got Grimscrag, Trollsbane. Oh, let's see. I think I like Grimscrag for this. Grimscrag. If I can spell my own city names, probably would have been easier if I would have just copy and pasted from the spreadsheet or from the Google Doc, since that's what I use to do all my doc building. Alright. And then we've got a bevy of towns going around the border as well as the interior. I think most of the interior is going to be elven and dwarvish because it's going to be heavily forested areas as well as mountainous. Forested mountains until you get to the northern spine of the continent, shall we call it, which is then dwarven. So I think I'm going to kind of go around the edges and do some of these city names, or at least the ones I feel that need to be labeled. I'm not going to label every single city name. I did do that on the eastern continent, but I feel like we want to leave some mystery for future development. So we will come back to that and do some editing there. All right, let's throw in Let's see. This city down here looks like a crossing. Here in the middle. We're going to drop a city there. Alright. So, you know, the thing I need to do in here in my list is I need to go ahead and change my colors too to indicate the ones I've used. And that way I know not to use that city name again as I'm mapping. Get myself into trouble. And then where is Varick's Crossing? Right there. Let's highlight that. Okay. Let's name some of these other towns, shall we? Take Pickwick off the list. Oh, yes. And then, let's see. Add in Ashford and take it off the list. I'm saving you the boredom of watching me flipping back and forth to the Google document that has the city names on it, because I would just be turning it off and on constantly as we do this. Let's see. We got a lot of town names. All the more reason I think we probably need to come up with some other names for some of these cities, as far as well, not so much coming up with names, but making them elven or dwarven. I'm thinking maybe some hill dwarves down here. That'd be a good dwarven town. Maybe put 2 dwarven towns in the hills here. We've got 1 elven. We probably need to come up with another elven. Yeah, I think these 3 are all going to be elven cities. So let's go ahead and target that. Yes. We're going to throw in a town name here. And then let me highlight that one so I know that it's been used off the list. Did I spell it the same as it is on the other sheet? No, I didn't. Okay, I don't like 2 elven towns with M names next to each other, so I think that needs to be remedied. So let's take that one off the list, or put it back on the list, I guess we'll say. Oops. Remove said highlight to this one, and then add said highlight to that one. Okay. There we go. So now we have 3 elven cities here in the forest. And then let's go label some more human towns. Just to mix it up a little bit. Let's see. Okie dokie. Okay, let's get rid of the floating label so that we can tag some stuff. Yep, wrong highlight color. So I figure 2/3 of these need to be labeled in some form or fashion. That's kind of my thought process. Get all of my little human cities as much as possible. Just label them out. So we only have really one on the west coast and one on the west coast, one on the east coast. So I'd like to label at least 1 or 2 more each there, and same in the south. I think my northern chunk of continent is labeled good. I'm gonna leave this city here unlabeled, but I think we need to label one of these here in the north. Well, no, I've got 2 on the west coast, so maybe 1 more there and 2 more east, just to kind of balance it out a little bit. Get over here and label. Where are we sticking this one? Up here in the trees? Or would it be more at home? Yeah, let's put it over here. shadow has been used. Okay, so I think I want to label this city here. If I can select. Let's see, we used hollow stone. Oh, I used Dorrington and didn't take it off the list. See, this is why we do this, is to keep me from reusing names. Okay. So that one's unlabeled. We're going to leave that one. I think this one I'm going to leave unlabeled. This one I'm going to label. This one I'm going to skip. I'm going to skip that one and label this one. So these two have got to have some labels. And then probably a couple of these down here around the point. I might move some names between my tables here. I feel the urge to sneeze. I may move this label. Let me think about this. Yeah, we're going to move this one and put it down here to label this city. That way we're kind of doing it, labeling every other city along this coastline. And then I think this probably needs to move up to here. Okay. So I need a label here. And very possibly a label there. So 2 labels. Red Rock, Melford. We used Albans. Let's highlight that one and take it off the list. And then Melford. And some of these other names are cheesy and I don't particularly care for them, so I might mangle them right now. Let's see. Just for kicks and giggles. This continues my pattern of every other town getting labeled. That means this one right here needs a label. I'm going to leave this interior town unlabeled. Now these 4 clustered in the center, at least 2 of them need names. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. Let's figure out, let's see. We took Fairview off of the list. Oops, I don't want the whole line, just the one word we're highlighting. And go with, see, I like these two as a passage because realistically that's, looking at the map, that's 75 to 100 miles separating them. But I don't want to, I guess if I'm gonna do that, I need to label both of those towns, but then I still feel like one of these needs to be labeled just for some sense of balance. I'll have to revisit that. Both of those are in a forested mountain region, medium forest, as opposed to you're going to be going through dark, heavily mountain forest between the two. So that's going to be a long journey just to get a short distance because of the terrain. Okay. Let me go see if I want to okay. I don't really have anything over here I want to use. I need to label this one. Actually, this one, let's move Pickwick to here. That way I can label this one, and then this is going to be a very salty interior sea. It's not going to be fresh water. So we need to label one here. And then I need to make a determination of these 4 interiors. Let's come over here. All right. You know, we have a salt hold and a salt flat. That deserves something being modified. What are we going to modify? We're going to modify salt hold. There we go. We need to select it and move it because of that. Difference in text. There we go. Oh, let's see. Give me just a second here as I zap over here. And go grab a map to plagiarize some town names from. Okay. All right, let's see if this meets with my criteria. pretty much every other city. Well, not really in here. But then I have an empty city here, unnamed city here, unnamed city here. These two are kind of really too close. Might have to label that one or do something more drastic. I'll think about it. Alright, let's move over. Western continent. Yeah, I'm sorry, Eastern continent. That says West, Patrick. Okay, I think I'm pretty content with this. I'm sure as I do other edits in the future, there'll probably be some tweaking, because I'm notorious for that. Like, I carved off a chunk of land down here earlier today and eradicated a couple cities just to thin it out a little. I will probably, while we're sitting here talking about this, do the same thing now. Y'all can gripe at me later about that. It's just kind of how I feel about it. Alrighty. Let's save Le Fantasy map. Alright, flipping to sci-fi. I don't have that many cities I need to label over here. Actually, looking at my eastern subcontinent, I've got 1, 2, 3 there. There's basically 3 unlabeled cities here. And then I have the 3 here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have 14, 15 cities on the Imperial continent that are unlabeled. Yeah, I might need to drop that down a little bit, but we'll think about that. You know, I tell you what, let's go ahead and drop another elven name. Oh, there goes my girl getting carried on, carrying on because somebody else has food and she doesn't. Did we take Misty L off? We did. No, we didn't. There we go, leaving cities on the map that didn't get highlighted on the list. Okay, let's go grab a label. What city name are we going with down here? Nothing if I'm not typing. That's going to be an elven city. So we'll have at least 4 elven cities, and I might make one of these twin cities elven and the other one human, just for an interesting twist. Alright. Let me make sure I save it again. Alright, let's flip over to the sci-fi map. You know, I've got, looking at my document, Okay, let's label. Okay, and do I want to move some of these? Let me look at this. These two on the northern side, definitely somebody needs to be labeled. I'm thinking grab that one and move it to here. And then label that one and this one. So let's make that happen. I think this one I'm going to move to here. And then we're going to name that one. Okay, Cumbria can come off the list. I'm going to copy paste that instead of trying to spell something I typed earlier and just mangling it horridly. Let's see. Okay, so I'm sticking kind of the same formula of every other town being named, or city in this case. That kind of sticks. Okay, so let's take a look at the northwestern continent. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 unlabeled. I feel like this one on the west coast needs to be labeled southwest coast. Bear with me while I go grab and grab a label. Okay. Feeling pretty good about the northern because that only leaves, what, 3 cities unlabeled? And, what, 5 labeled? So 5/8. Alright, southern central continent. And you're probably wondering why I'm ignoring that northeastern continent, because that's going to be all unmapped. There'll be cities there, but it's just they're not shared on maps for fear of outsiders. Got some xenophobia going on here, I guess, for kicks and giggles. Alright. Let's look at... Let's go with this. That one's labeled. That one is not. That one's labeled. That one is not. This town right here really needs to be labeled. And that one does not. And then this one needs to be labeled. But then, okay. So we might have an extra town label or two here. And that's fine. I'm not going to gripe about that. Okay. We got some interior towns that need to be labeled. These are going to be mostly Vargar cities down here that we're looking at. At least in the traveler setting. What they are in a Starfinder setting has remained unseen. Let's go grab this. What are we labeling where? Are we going to make... Okay, and then I've got to name possibly 2 cities here. Let's change that to it's marked off the list. I say labeled this one right here, but it would be with an F, which is the same as the town above, so no. Alright, let's grab a label. Okay, so possibly this town needs to be labeled. And definitely one of these. We'll go with a Vargar based name. Or not. Just whatever strikes my fancy on the list at this point, you know? Okay, so I feel good about this cluster. This town here needs to be named. That looks like it's the wrong color code for my mapping. This is not the fun part. The fun part comes later. Here this evening, we're going to establish some trade routes between cities. Now, I don't know that I can do that, or I want to do that inside of Hexographer. I might pull that into a different program to do a little bit of mapping that way. Let's see. But my thought process is leave some mystery. I probably need to label this town here. And I need to take the last one I used off the list. I crown thee Velis. Okay. I think I'm good with that. So there's one city here unlabeled, one here. There's 1, 2, 3. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I probably need to drop another name or two down here. Nothing like a little name dropping. Let's see, we used Barone. That needs to come off the list too. Let's see. Marigar. Where are we dropping Marigar? I want to say not that interior. Maybe go ahead and label this one on the west coast, east coast. I don't know east from west today. I'm so tired. Okay, so I feel pretty good about that. Let's save that. Now, let's think about and talk about and chat up trade between cities. Did I use moral? I did not. Okay. But flipping back to my fantasy world. Close that tab. I do not need my email open. Okay. Fantasy world. Looking at major trade areas. Let's go play with the areas here. So I think your three large cities in the south, being Cliffcrest, Boyart, and Bannerguard, are going to have a fairly healthy trade with each other. Likewise, Moorhome. So I think these 4 to 5 towns or cities, I don't like calling them cities because in a fantasy world, I don't want very many large cities. I want a few, but not many. So let me see how I can do this. Can I do a curve? Let's see if it'll let me do this. I've not tinkered with this. So that's not horrid for curves for trade routes. So those 5 major cities are going to trade with each other more than likely via water. And then I want to probably bring trade between Barham and Dyrebrook over land. Oh, it's treating it as a single continuous polygon. Not good. How do I get rid of that? Yuck. Well, that got rid of all of it. Well, crap, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so I probably don't want to draw my trade routes using hexographer. Let's see what else I have that might do. We're going to fire open Wonder Draft here. See, for my hex maps, you know, my world is not going to be hex shaped. That's just for the purpose of kind of getting the rough idea. when it comes time to do true coastal mapping, that kind of stuff, I'll probably be using Wonderdraft to do that, just to get finer detail. Okay. So, is there a way, yes, to import? Let's do this. Where did my mouse go? Oh man, Wonderdraft is freaking out my mouse. That is not good. I cannot have that. Okay, at least not while I'm midstream. It's no bueno. Okay, so let's look at it this way. Let's do a file export image. That's fine, I'm not really worried about that. Yeah, 72 DPI is fine for now. Let's go ahead and replace these. You're going to see, just if you watch that thumbnail, that's a significantly older map. You can see there's a larger continent and different shape, and so this is going to drastically redo that PNG file that I generated early on. Now, nothing like doing a little editing. And I'm crazy enough to crack open Photoshop right now, just to kind of get a feel for this. Important trade towns. This is session 13 on the documentation. Okay. Will that continue to be a heading 1? And bold. Nope, I didn't bold it. Okay. Oh, it's just title. Okay. All right, let me share over my Chrome window with the and let's see. Session 13. 2024-03-06. Okay. Let's refresh this. And then let's duplicate this. I am fighting the urge to sneeze, y'all. Okay. All right. So we have this spreadsheet open twice. Why does it think I'm trying to comment? Okay, so for 13 for our fantasy world. You know, I think we're going to go towns plural. Just to kind of flesh out who's trading with who is kind of my thought process. So let's take a quick peek back at our map here, which I'm going to turn off Chrome for y'all for a minute. Let's go back to our fantasy world. Let's get Chrome out of y'all's face. Okay. Map. So, Cliffcrest, Boyart, Bannerguard, Stormhold, and Moorhome. Okay. So we're going to take those cities. And bear with me here. I've got to move some windows around on my desktop because I want to be able to see both of these at the same time. We're going to go Cliffcrest, Boyart, Bannerguard, Stormhold, and Moorhome. Okay, that's going to be one group of trading partners. Looking at our map of our little northwestern subcontinent, I think Direbrook and Barham are going to be trade partners. I think probably Cliffcrest and Direbrook need to trade as well. So that would literally bring them into that same trading group, right? So let's do that. Let's add Direbrook and Barham into the mix. Do I want to break this into a multi-column? I probably do. Insert column right. Yuck. Let's go back to this. Okay. That doesn't need to be like that. Now, we're going to add Direbrook. And my cursor jumped way over someplace unknown. And Barham into this. So these are all your larger cities. Barham and Atrum are landlocked. So they're going to trade by land with each other, as well as with Direbrook and probably Moorhome. So that gives me some flexibility there. Let's take a look at... And see, a lot of my imperial cities are larger cities, so... But because of the sheer size of the empire, trading from one end to the other would be an expensive proposition for the movement of goods. So things are going to take probably the instead of a straight line path, pass through several different ports of entry on its way from point A to point B. Pretty much all your coastal towns are going to trade. I mean, I could build a whole document just on this one section of property. So let's flip this over where y'all can see what I'm looking at. So Wrote up the trade routes for the west. Now we're kind of moving over to the main imperial continent. Got a lot of coastal towns. I'm thinking, honestly, I'm thinking if I write this up, this is going to be a whole page just in and of itself. So let's skip listing. Well, no, I'm going to have to, because there's going to be some trade between coastal towns and interior towns, and then you're also going to have some trade between the elven towns and the human towns. You know, that's something I didn't address on the northwestern continent. Is the trade with Latharenwin and both Ironhall and Stonehelm as to who they're going to trade with. I think my dwarves are going to be pretty much self-sufficient. They're not really much for trading. We might consider them somewhat xenophobic, but nah, friendly towards humans, untrusting of elves. How's that? I think that's how we wrote that up at the very beginning. And we'll stick with that. But as far as trade between the elven and dwarven kingdoms and the human kingdoms, I'm going to say probably not so much. Although you might have your fringe collectors in each society trying to collect rare items, magic items, treasures from the other societies. That's going to be your exception and not your norm. Is kind of my thought process there. Just kind of plugging away at this. Okay. So, oh, Rocky's in here. What you doing, buddy? What you doing? We have a pup in the house. No, I'm not going to rub your belly right now. He's like, Daddy, please. You should have a belly full. Oh, here comes my girl. Here comes my girl. Watch her tail. We'll stop. And her tail starts wagging. Why's your tail wagging, girl? Huh? I'm gonna start petting her and she'll stop. She's silly. Yeah, you are. You're silly. I didn't take them for a 2-mile walk tonight. I only did 1.5 miles because it was starting to get dark. It was kind of late when I started, so. But they got a good walk in, didn't you? You got a good walk in, didn't you, mamas? Huh? Did you get some good walk? Huh? You love your walks with your daddy, huh? Yeah. It's a pretty girl. Pretty spoiled girl. Okay. Enough from doggy distractions. Let's circle back here and discuss this. So, I want to follow this same pattern here. Really? It didn't keep the split columns? Gotta love when the docs platform does weird things. Okay. I think my Imperial friends are going to be a little more cosmopolitan in terms of their trade. Let's start with Ravenhold, Ashford, Tour, Albans, Sutton, Bernard, Fairview, Rock. This is why I'm saying they could get a page all of their own. Hollowstone. Okay. So a lot of our human cities are going to trade with each other. Now I think where your interesting trade is going to occur is this. I'll do that a little differently. It's a little less work. I think Hollowstone is going to do a lot of trade with Grimscrag. And then also with our, let's do this. Let's do a little shift this over here. Also with our closest elven town. And then on the west side, see, Ravenhold is pretty much too far from really Glimmerhold or Shar Feanor, so we're not going to do any trade there. And then down in your central, you know, Shadowhaven's going to be pretty much an elven town and going to be so far in the woods that nobody's going to make that trip regularly. So I think that kind of cinches that up. I think Albans is going to sub-trade with Pickwick and Salt Flat, as is Daring Tor. So they're going to have their own little thing going on here. Let's do a page break here. I guess I need to share this over because it's not. Nice little share. Okay, so fleshing out my central continent trade. So Grimscrag is going to be your main trading post for between dwarves and humans. Dwarves and elves, they're not. Okay. And then as far as your sub-trade, your smaller cities, I need to look at that and see what I'm going to do. Sorry, I need to adjust my headset because it's beginning to bug me. Okay. I think we're good here for the time being. Let's go look at our trade on the northeastern subcontinent, shall we? I think in this case, your smaller towns on the western are going to trade primarily with Hollowstone. So we can go back to our Hollowstone sheet. And let's put a page break here. Insert page break. Okay. Oh, goodness. Split cell. So again, Hollowstone. In this case, it's going to be trading with Northmeet, Melgata, and Southmeet. Alright. I think that's a good thing, because those are human towns. And then, okay, getting into your major trades here. I think your coastal towns are all going to trade with each other. And we've got some unknowns there, but that's okay. So we're going to start at the top with Frostmere, Northmeet, Melgata, Southmeet, and then Faintvale, Quiet Shore, Musingwood, and Melthara. Okay. I think in terms of interior trading, You're going to see trade between Faintvale and Whiskerton, which is a tabaxi city. Let's pop another break in here. And then in the case of Feanor, you're going to trade with Southmeat. Now your dwarves here, I think are going to do their predominant trading with Soothing Mist and Whiskerton, which are your tabaxi towns to the north and south. So I think we're going to go Mid-Falls and Whiskerton. And then I think we're going to go Hearth first and Soothing Mist. I love tabaxi names. They're so much fun. And so anything going to a human city is going to have to pass from the dwarves, is going to have to pass through typically your tabaxi first. Alright, I think I'm content with that. Let's go look at... Okay, so our friends here in the south, specifically our Yuan-Ti, nah, they're not trading with anybody. They're out to enslave and destroy. Our Dragonborn cities, or city, there's going to be one major city and the rest is just going to be outlying villages. To the casual eye are just going to be simple farming folk, but they are really the prophets, the seers, and the scholars of the world. So they're going to have the unknown great library. That's going to be my fun there. So if you're thinking of in terms of like Game of Thrones, what was the city of the Maesters? God, I forgot. It's where all the Maesters went for training. That's going to be Mariston, your main Dragonborn city. Anybody that's had any scholarly learning of significance is going to have passed through there at some point. But it's a well-kept, guarded secret because of the nasty neighbors. So, anyways, just a little backstory building as we go. I'm going to make sure I have saved this one. Let's pop over to our sci-fi world and go through the same fleshing out process. I'll come back and flesh out what they're trading, because a lot of these coastal towns, they're not going to trade fish with each other, but these coastal towns are going to serve as gateways to interior. So, you know, farm produce, timber, stone, that kind of stuff is going to come to them and then go from them to excuse me, them to elsewhere via ship or horse and wagon or what have you, at least in our fantasy setting. Okay, moving into a little sci-fi build out. Okay, let me close Photoshop. I'm not going to do any drawing in Photoshop tonight. I'll figure out how I want to do my trade routes and come back to that as far as detailing them on the map. Okay. So, coming back over here and then looking at our sci-fi world. Towns, main products traded. Towns, main products traded. Okay. Providence and New Providence being your main port and your down port and your deep port. You know, New Providence is shipping kelp to Providence. Providence is shipping everything. Oh, here comes the big guy. To New Providence that they need in terms of goods. And then I think from your other locations, your tech, your tech and high tech electronics are going to be coming in from Port Naichi, as well as Lockmar. So let's put Port Naichi, and then Lockmar, and then, you know, I probably need to do the split cell thing here on this spreadsheet too, just for consistency. Electronics. Whoops. And tech are going to trade from here to your Providence and New Providence. Well, mainly to Providence, because from Providence it can go elsewhere. I think let's pan and move around here a little bit. I think your Variman and your Ankaya are going to be the main trades with Providence as well. And that's going to be, well, actually, let's look at this. So Terrene is going to be agricultural. A lot of this is going to be agricultural. So we're going to look at this and go Aeolian. We need to split. And then Terrene. Not so much Variman. That's going to be more of a timber. We might have to come back and look at that and list it. But let's go ahead and do a little tweak of my mapping here. Okay. So a little tweak of the map there for you, if you caught that. So, and then, okay, so Zamata and Ankaya. This is going to be agricultural goods. You know, I think we can make the safe assumption that everybody's going to be trading with each other and with Providence, so I'm not going to break that down and do that way. Whoops! Let me get out of that and get into select mode to pan around. So your southern continent, this is going to be a lot of your metals, your gems, your whatnot, your main ports. Let's do a break of the cell. You're looking at Solnar and Ventia. See, those are going to be serving more towards timber and that kind of supply. So let's think about how materials are going to get from the mountains, the mines in the mountains, to Providence or to the other cities. I mean, land-based transport is going to be rail, air, boat if you're close to major waterway. But I'm sitting here looking at this and going, you know, I probably need to throw a town onto a waterway in order to have that. So let's grab a town and move it. So these 3 mining towns are going to send everything to here, this unnamed town. So see, now I've created a problem that I'll have to fix. So that's going to cause some little chaos on my part. Okay, and then same thing for the western half of the continent. Okay, so we're going to try to get everything from these mining towns to Balkan so that everything can ship via Balkan Bay. So we can look at this and say, time to move a label, Brian. Let's just do this the easy way. Grab this label here, move it right here. So your main ports for your southern continent. Whoops. Move over. Move the map, Brian. There we go. So your main ports are going to be Marigar, and then Balkan, and that's going to move your mined materials, metals, gems, etc. I'd have to go back and look at my resource chart. Let's do that. It's been a hot minute since we've done that. Natural resources. In this case, for our sci-fi world. Workable metals, gems. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that pretty much is a done deal. Ooh, that air conditioner is freezing my legs off. That vent is right underneath my desk, and it's freezing me to death. Okay, so Marigar and Balkan are you going to be your 2 main for that, and then your other cities like Solinar, Ventia, Whitby, Bricadarl, Sarander, Hanatar, Redemption. These are all going to be timber. Let's just go ahead and throw them in a table of their own. Okay, copy, paste. Timber, stone. Let's go around the continent. Solinar, Ventia, Whitby, Bricadarl. Sarander's going to be too small to consider. We're going to do Hanatar, Redemption. If I can spell. And then Barone. Okay. So that's going to be your predominant towns for each of those product types. I think that's a good thing. I think that kind of fleshes it out really, really well for me. Let's take a look at zoom it out. I didn't do that for, well, did I or did I not? Let's revisit the agricultural in our fantasy world. I mean, we really went with Aeolian and then Terrene, Zamata. We need to really add Varamon into that list. Let's page break here. I need to probably fix this spacing here. Where'd my cursor go? Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. Arzon needs to be on that list. Even though it's interior, it's got this nice, wonderful waterway going to it. So it's definitely going to supply agricultural as well as timber from its location. All right. I think that kind of fleshes that out good. Let me turn off Chrome so y'all can see what's going on. Get you a good eye at the map, which I need to save because I have tweaked on both of them. Okay. All right. I think I've got pretty much a good chunk of my trade figured out. Let me see what we got going on next. Government structures. We'll have to come back to this. So this will be next Wednesday. So let's talk about upcoming. So Saturday the 9th, that's this Saturday, we're going to have a Weekend Adventures D&D session. Probably starting around 6:30 or 7. I know my guys like to start early because we tend to go a little long. So that time might vary slightly. I want to say the stream schedule says... Oh, what does the stream schedule say? Yuck. It doesn't say anything right now when I'm looking at it. I'll have to fix that. So I'll look at that. But we are going to be continuing our Tomb of Annihilation campaign. They're getting close to the lost city of Omu. They've been traveling by river with the help of a big boat and some healthy magic. And then your DM here figured out that the river's flowing backwards. So technically their asses should have been rowing or using magic every step of the way and been slower than going on foot. But, you know, my bad, so we let it go. The river flows backwards. But I've got a pretty interesting game lined up for them. Lots of interesting things are going to happen. A little bit of intrigue. So be sure you tune in Saturday and join us for that. And then the following week is going to be spring break. I will be streaming for sure Monday and Wednesday. Monday will be sci-fi, so I'll probably be doing some more work here in our sci-fi world setting. Or I might be able to talk somebody into a game. I'd like to run a game of Starfinder just for fun. Wednesday we'll resume world building and go to government structure, which is the template you see in your face now. Let's make that go away. And then next Saturday, we're going to be out of town Friday evening and a good chunk of Saturday, but I do anticipate coming home Saturday. I'll probably be dead tired from driving since I do the bulk of the distance driving for us. Taking the grandsons and going out of town to go do some stuff with them while they're on spring break. But anyways, Saturday evening, which I guess which will be what, the 16th? I'll probably either do a watch party for Vox Machina, episode 7, 8, and 9, or if I'm feeling really froggy and energetic, I might jump in and play some Baldur's Gate 3 and stream that. So need to pick that back up. So anyways, tune in, check it out, make sure you got if you're followed, you got notifications turned on, and we'll see you then. But other than that, thank you for hanging out this evening. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you soon.
Mic off. Mic on. Mic off.